Hi everybody, I'm Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Babe Crochet, and today I want to show you how to make the rainbow baby blanket. Let me show you a little bit closer some of the highly texturized stitches that this embodies. This is an intermediate project, but if you're a confident beginner and you know how to do the basic stitches, I definitely encourage you to take a look at this to see if that's something that you think you can accomplish. The written instructions for this project are available in my Leisure Arts leaflet called Self-Striping Projects. This is available on leisurearts.com site as well as other online outlets, and it's also available in my Etsy store. Those links are available in the video description below. And as always, if you're the first-time visitor, please hit that subscribe button and thumbs up if you like this project, and the notification bell will keep all the notifications from my new projects coming your way. For this project, I'm going to be using Lion Brand Yarns Mandala Baby Yarn. And let me show you some of the stats. This is a 5.3 ounce cake, or 150 grams, 590 yards, or 540 meters. This is a number 3, or a DK, which stands for double knitting weight yarn. It's slightly thinner than your usual worsted weight, so just do take a note of that. And you are going to need 2 of these to complete the project. I'm also recommending that you have a size H or 8 or 5.00 millimeter crochet hook, and as always, a yarn needle and a pair of sharp scissors will come in very handy. Before we begin, I wanted to say a word about the self-striping yarns, and that is, as you take the label off and notice that it starts with different colored yarns depending on which cake that you purchased. I want you to be free as the crocheter to choose to start with whichever color that you would like on the cake. You can easily pull off the yarn and roll it in a ball until you get to the color you desire to start with, or you can even start by pulling from the center of the cake. Once you get started, it should be no problem. And also, if you encounter knots in the yarn where there's a sudden color change where you don't desire, please feel free to go ahead and pull off more yarn until you get to the color that you want to continue with. And this is also the advantage of having 2 cakes to work with, so that you can manipulate the color scheme a little better in the way that you wish. I will say that there will be plenty of extra yarn with 2 scans so that you can do this. Okay, I'm going to begin using the yellow color because that's the color that I want in the center of my baby blanket. And we're going to start with a slip knot. And then we are going to chain 6 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Once we do that, we are going to make a circle by using a slip stitch in that first chain. Now, if you prefer to use a magic circle, you can do that, but my preference is using the chain. Okay, so we're going to chain 2. This chain 2 does not count as a stitch, just to let you know. And we're going to work 20 double crochets working in the center of this loop. And also, as I go around, I'm actually crocheting on top of this loose thread, so that once I finish this round, all I have to do is clip that extra strand. So go ahead and work 20 double crochets working right into the center of the circle. So now we are ready to join to the first stitch of the round with a slip stitch. And now we're ready for round number 2. We're going to chain 3. Now this chain actually does count as a double crochet in what we're going to do, and we're going to work 2 more double crochets, but we're going to actually work it down in between the 2 stitches between the chain and the double crochet. We're going to work 2 more double crochets, a chain 2, and 3 more double crochets to form a corner. Let me pause a minute so you can see how this chain does look like a double crochet stitch, and that's why we're counting it as such. And we're going to chain one, just one chain, and then we're going to skip 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in between the 5th stitch and the next stitch, we're going to work another corner, but working it deep down in here, not through the top loop. And we're going to work 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do that all the way around. Chain 1 and skip 5 more stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in the space between the 5th and the next stitch, we're going to work another corner consisting of 3 double crochets, a chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now before I go any further, let me stop for a minute and give you some technical hints. If I am going too fast with my crocheting speed, I first of all apologize. This is like breathing to me at this stage of my life after doing it for more than 50 years. So I have a solution for you though. If I am going too fast for your taste, I want you to look down here, stop the video, and then look down here. There's a little gear-like item icon, and if you click on that, it will bring up a playback speed where you can select a slower playback speed. If you're watching the left-hand version, it's on this side of the screen. If you are watching from a cell phone, look up here. There are 3 vertical dots. If you click on that, that also brings back a playback speed menu, and you can select a slower speed, or if you're actually getting bored, you can select a faster speed and enjoy yourself and have a good time watching that. Okay, so now I'm going to just continue. I just thought I wanted to help you with that in case you didn't know about those items at your dispensal. All right, so now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip 5 stitches again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in between the 5th and the next stitch, down deep there, we're going to work our last corner, which again is 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, and then we're going to join with this slip stitch to the top of that chain 3, which also serves as a double crochet. There we go. And pull that on through. And this is what you should have after 2 rounds. Now to begin round 3, we're going to start with a chain 1. We're going to single crochet in the same place as joining, and in the next 2 stitches, so you should have 3 single crochets there. And when you get to the chain 2 corner, we're going to work a single crochet, make sure we go through all the loops, chain 2, and another single crochet to make up that corner. And now we're going to single crochet across, single crochet in each of the 3 double crochets. We're going to single crochet in the chain 1 space, and we're going to single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. And again, when we get to that corner, single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet again. And we're going to do that across the next 2 sides. So go ahead and work that around, and I will show you the join. As we come along the last side, we're just going to work a single crochet in each of those 3 double crochets, and then 1 in the chain 1 space. At the end of round 3, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. Now for round 4, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we are going to skip the first 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and in the next stitch we're going to work a treble crochet. This is beginning the arrow stitch row. So we work a treble in that stitch. Now working behind the treble crochet, we're going to double crochet in each of the 3 stitches that we skipped. So we're going to come in, you can even pull this down. We're going to work double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. And when you finish it, it should look like this. Okay, once we get to the corner, which is right here, that's the next place we're going to work. We're going to actually work 2 arrow stitches in that corner as follows. We get ready to work our treble crochet, and then working in front of this treble, we're going to work 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3, just like that. Now this is a little awkward. We're going to do that again in this chain 2 space. We're going to work a treble, and then in front of that treble, you may want to even pull this back a little bit so you have room. We're going to work 3 double crochets. We can keep the loops on the hook. There you go. 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to skip 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to treble crochet in that next stitch. And working behind this stitch, we're going to skip the first stitch here. We're not going to work in that, but we're going to work in the other 3 stitches, and we're going to work double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to do that again. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then the next in a 4th. So I will clarify these numbers. I know this is confusing. I'll show it to you in just a second. So working behind that double crochet, treble crochet, double crochet in the 3 stitches that were skipped. Okay, I know there are going to be a lot of people asking questions about this, so I'm going to go ahead and once again try to clarify. We've worked 2 sets of the arrows, so that's 8 stitches total in this corner. From that point on, we skip 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Treble crochet in the next stitch, and working behind that stitch, we're going to double crochet in these 3 stitches. Move my hand. These 3 stitches. We skipped this stitch, but that's just for this corner, and this is to help the math to work its way out. So after that, then we just skip 3 stitches, treble crochet in the 4th, and then working behind the treble, we work those 3 double crochets. Now we're getting to a corner again, and we're going to do the same thing that we did before. So I will do this one again for you. Treble crochet, we're going to work 2 sets of arrow stitches in this corner space. So work that treble, and working behind that treble, we're going to work 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do it again. Work another treble. This is all in that chain 2 space, and make sure that you can just pull it a little bit like I just did so that you have room to work these 3 double crochets in front of that, or actually it's behind the treble but in front of it where it appears on the chain 2 space. Now we're going to skip 4 stitches again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next stitch we work a treble crochet. Working behind the treble, we're going to work double crochets in the 3 stitches that we skipped. This one, and this one, because we're going to avoid working in the first one that was skipped entirely. And it's pretty well hidden by those two arrow stitches that we worked in the corner anyhow. So I think it's going to look fine. Actually, it does look fine when you do it this way. I just wanted to be clear on the math with everybody, because I know I'm going to get questions on this, because it's a little bit of a departure from what I usually do. Okay, we're going to do that again. Skip 1, 2, 3 stitches, and we're going to treble in the next. Working behind that treble, we're going to double crochet in the 3 stitches that were skipped. Okay, so I'm going to continue in this, working 2 arrows in each of the corners and working this side exactly as I just showed you, and then I will show you the last section. After working all 4 of those corners, I'm going to work this last side with you, and this is where we skip 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Treble crochet in that next stitch. And then we're going to work behind this treble crochet, and we're going to skip this first stitch like we've been doing and double crochet in the 3 stitches that were skipped. 3 of the 4. And then we join with a slip stitch to the first treble crochet of the round. And let's stop and take a look at what we have. So we're halfway through the arrow stitch. We've got 1 other round to work. So now to begin round 5, we're going to turn. We're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to skip the first 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and in the next stitch we're going to work a treble crochet. And let me show you something. This should be in the same place where the other treble crochet was worked the last round. Now working in front of the treble crochet, we're going to double crochet, or the treble crochet rather, we're going to double crochet in the 3 stitches that we just skipped. And that's what we're going to do all the way around. I'll do this with you a few times. Skip the next 3 stitches, treble crochet in the next stitch, working in front of that treble crochet. We're going to double crochet in the 3 stitches that we just skipped. I'll do this around the corner for you just to show you that there's nothing else to do but this repeat. Skip the next 3 stitches, treble crochet in the next stitch, working in front of that treble crochet, double crochet in the 3 stitches that we just skipped. 1, 2, and 3. And I'll do it one more time, and then I'll show you what's on the other side. Skip 3 stitches. When you work these treble crochets, they should always be in this treble crochet from the previous round. Working in front of that treble, we double crochet in the 3 stitches that we just skipped. 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to show you what it looks like from this side. And when you turn it around, this is the front side, you can see the arrows. So go ahead and work this all the way around. At the end of the round, we joined with a slip stitch to that first stitch, which is that treble crochet of the round. Now we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to turn to begin the next round. But before I do, let me just show you what your square should look like at this point. This is after 5 rounds, and you should have 64 stitches on these last 2 rounds. Okay, now we're ready to begin round number 6. Okay, we're going to double crochet in the first 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So after working those 8 stitches, and that last double crochet should be in the treble, we're going to work a corner in the space right here before the next double crochet, and that corner is going to be worked as 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Let me just pause so that you can see that. Now we're going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 16 stitches, which should take us all the way to the next place for a corner. So go ahead and work 16 double crochets across the next side. So after working 16 double crochets across the next side, we're going to work another corner, again worked in the space right here between the last stitch and the next stitch. This should be right before those next set of 3 double crochets. So the corner is 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. And so we're going to do this around the sides again, 16 double crochets, and then a corner in this space, 16 more, and then a corner in this space, and then I will finish off these. Actually, you just work 8 double crochets there, so go ahead and do that, and I will show you the connection. Okay, at the end of this round, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. Let's go ahead and just take a look at our square. This is after 6 rounds. Okay, now we're going to begin a new stitch. We're not going to turn after we complete this round. We're going to chain 2, we're not going to turn, and we're going to begin a stitch called the woven stitch. This stitch is a little different than anything I've ever worked before, but it's still one of my favorite stitches. It's totally reversible, which I really like. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive in. We're going to skip the first stitch, and in the next stitch we're going to work a woven stitch, and this is going to be worked in every other stitch. Now this has 2 parts to each stitch, so just follow carefully. We wrap the hook, stick the hook in our stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 1 loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Half of the stitch is done. For the second half, we wrap the hook, insert, pull up a loop, and then pull through 2. We don't wrap the hook once we pull this up, and that is the woven stitch. And we're going to skip the next stitch, and we're going to do it again. Wrap, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 1 loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, and pull through 2. It's an odd little looking stitch, but I think it can look very beautiful when you have a lot of them together. Okay, skip the next stitch, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 1 loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert into the same space, pull up a loop, and pull through 2. I'm going to skip the next stitch, just like that. We're going to do this across, skip the next stitch, and next stitch, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 2 loops. Now when we skip the next stitch, when we get to the corners, we're going to work 2 woven stitches like this, just like I showed you. Oops, pull all the way through, there you go, and then do it again. Okay, oh, let's try that again. It's a little tricky on the corners apparently. So whenever you get to the corners, we're going to work 2 woven stitch in between these on the rows or rounds rather to follow. Okay, skip the next stitch, yarn over. If you need a tutorial on this stitch by itself, I do have a link in the video description below. So do feel free to check that out if you need, a little extra practice on this stitch. This is a little different. It's not as intuitive as many of the other crochet stitches because of the different motions it makes, but when you do it many times, your muscle memory does kick in and it becomes a little more comfortable. Okay, so I'll do this one more time, nice and slow. Yarn over, we're skipping stitches in between. Insert, pull up a loop, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, and pull through 2. Okay, so go ahead and work this all the way around and making sure that you work 2 woven stitches in each corner as you go around. Then I'll show you how to join at the end. At the end of row 7, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that chain 2 space. Wanted to say a word about the stitch count before I go further. On each side, this is not including the 2 woven stitches in each corner, but you should have 11 woven stitches across each side plus 2 in every corner. So if you add 1 here and 1 there for the corner, so total would be like 13 across each side, including the corners. So you should have 52 woven stitches total. And do make sure that you have the 11 across this first side in which we started. Okay, so now to continue for rounds 8, 9, and 10, they are all done the same way. They're going to end just the way I showed you with a slip stitch to the chain 2 space. Okay, so to start, we're going to chain 2 and we are going to turn at the end of each of the woven stitch rounds. And we are going to work each woven stitch in between the woven spaces. Okay, I'll show you what I mean by that. We work the woven stitch in the space which is between the woven stitches as we work across. Okay, so we're going to work this. I'm going to work this with you all the way to the corner, and I will show you how to work the 2 woven stitches in the corner again. You probably know how to do that, but I just wanted to be as clear as possible for those of you who have never seen this stitch before. And I believe this is only the second time that I have worked this stitch in the round, and I'm actually working it in a different manner than I did the last time I worked this in the round. So do hang in there. Okay, so now we've come to the corner where those 2 woven stitches are. So what we're going to do is we're going to work 2 woven stitches in the space between these 2. So I'll do this and I'll show you what it looks like. So that's 1, and then do this again. 2. And then let me turn the corner with you, and then we go back to working the woven stitches in between the woven stitches of the last round. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to stop and show you what this is going to look like. So as you go around the corner, you're going to work 2 woven stitches in between those 2 woven stitches in the corner of the last round. Make sure that you don't skip over those because it'd be very easy to just miss the corner completely. Now, if you're afraid that you're going to miss the corners, you can always use either a contrasting piece of yarn if you don't have that, or you could just mark the corners with a stitch marker. If I can get it in there correctly. There we go. You can always use stitch markers should you feel like you need a prompt or a reminder. You can put one of these in each corners. Of course, this is optional. This is not required. Okay, so go ahead and complete rounds 8, 9, and 10 in the same manner. After completing 10 rounds, this is what your square should look like. This is with the back side facing, and you can see we've gone into our second color off of the cake of yarn. Okay, now for round number 11. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn to have the front side facing. Let's go ahead and just pause and take a look at the front side. Okay, so now for this round we are going to work 2 single crochets in each space that's between the woven stitches. So after that chain 1, we're going to work 2 single crochets in between. And one more thing, just a little bit of math from the last round. At the end of round number 10, you should have a total of 64 woven stitches. I just wanted to mention that because I know a lot of times you find that helpful. Okay, so now we are just working 2 single crochets in between, in the space in between the woven stitches. I'm going to work this to the corner and show you what to do once you get to the corner. Okay, that brings us to the first corner where the 2 woven stitches are. We're going to work 2 single crochets, chain 2, and then 2 more single crochets in that same space, thereby forming a more defined corner. And then we're going to just continue working 2 single crochets in each space all the way around. So go ahead and continue that all the way around, and when you get to the beginning of the round, we're going to work 2 single crochets in this space, and then we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. At the end of round 11, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet of the round. Let's go ahead and pause and take a look at our square at this point. Okay, at the end of round 11, you should have 136 single crochets. Now we're going to go on to round number 12, and this is going to be the cable stitch, which is quite an interesting stitch. If you need additional stitch support on the cable stitch, again, look at the video description below and I will list a video there for you to see. Okay, so we're going to chain 1, single crochet in the same space as joining. And this is what we're going to work all the way to the corner. Chain 3. Also notice that we did not turn. We still should have the front side facing. After that chain 3, we're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're going to single crochet in that next space. Now we're going to turn in order to work in this chain 3 that we just made. And I'm just going to work on one side of the V, which is the easiest way to work in this, and we're going to single crochet in each of those 3 chains. After that, we're going to slip stitch in that first single crochet that we made to start. Okay, then we're going to, there are 2 things you can do. You can turn the project again. I'll show you a couple ways to turn. You turn to again have the front side facing, and then now we're going to work in those 2 stitches that we skipped. You can pull this section down that we just worked in, and we're going to single crochet 1 stitch in each of those 2 stitches that we just skipped. And that is the first cable completed. I'm going to do this a few more times with you. Chain 3. Now we're going to skip the next 2 unworked stitches. So we've worked in this, so we're not going to use this. Skip the next 2 stitches and single crochet in that third. I'm going to turn, and we're going to work a single crochet in each of those 3 chains. 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to work a slip stitch in that next stitch. Okay, you can turn again, or what you could do is bring the yarn back around the hook like this. I'll show this to you a couple more times, so if you just want to watch for now, that's probably the best thing to do if you've never seen this stitch. Now we pull this back, and we're going to single crochet in each of those 2 stitches that we just skipped. 1, 2, and now we have 2 cables. I'm going to do this again. 1, 2, 3 chains, skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, single crochet in that next. We're going to turn and single crochet in each of those 3 chains that we just made. 1, 2, 3, and then slip stitch in the next stitch, and then you can turn this again. Maybe that's the easiest way to do that for now. And then single crochet in those 2 stitches that we skipped. Okay, I'm going to work a couple more with you. 1, 2, 3, skip 2, single crochet in the next stitch, turn to work in the chain. 1, 2, 3 single crochets, slip stitch in that next stitch, and then turn again. You can pull this back and work single crochets in those 2 stitches that we skipped. 1, 2. Now we've got 1 more to the corner. 1, 2, 3 chains, and I'm going to show you this last one and the corner. Skip 2, single crochet in that next stitch, turn, single crochet in each of those chains. Whoops. Slip stitch in the next stitch. I'm going to actually turn this way, be the easiest way to do this. And then single crochet in those 2 stitches that we skipped. 1, 2, and you, by pulling down the cable, you'll see that clearly. Now we come to the chain 2 corner, and we're going to work 2 single crochets, chain 2, and 2 more single crochets in that chain 2 corner, just like that. And then we're going to continue on. Don't forget that the first single crochet is right here, so we're just going to continue on with the cabling all the way around. Skip 2. I'll work this last one for you just to show you how to continue this around the corner. 1, 2, 3, and then slip stitch in that last stitch. There we go. And I'm going to bring this yarn to the back so I don't have to turn my fabric as much. And then single crochet in those 2 skip stitches. Okay, so this is how you work the cable stitch. Again, if you need additional support, and another way of looking at it, maybe sometimes looking at it with different color yarn is actually helpful depending on what the stitch is. So go ahead and check for that link below if you need a little more practice on this. Okay, so this is round number 12, and I will show you the connection at the end of this round. After working this all the way around, we're going to join to the first stitch, which is right here, the first single crochet of the round with a slip stitch. You might want to actually pull that a little bit tight. We're not going to be working in that. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn. Before I do that, let me just say that there should be a total of 44 cable stitches all the way around. Okay, now we're going to turn with the back side facing us. Now that we have the back side facing, we're going to work row 13. And before we get started, let me just try to make it easier, and that is by saying that there are going to be 3 single crochets worked behind each cable. We're going to work them 2 in the first stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the single crochet that also has the cable connected to it. And I'll work this with you to the corner so that you understand. So the first stitch, we're going to work 2 single crochets, and then in this space that has the cable attached, we work 1 single crochet, thereby having 3 single crochets behind that cable. In the next, behind the next cable, we work 2 single crochets and then 1. And we're going to work that to the corner, 2 single crochets and then 1 single crochet in that next space, 2 single crochets and then 1, 2 and then 1. Okay, we're almost to the corner. 2 and then 1. Okay, now we get to the 2 single crochets that were worked in the corner of the last round. We're going to just work 1 single crochet in each of those stitches. And then when we get to the chain 2 corner, we're going to work 2 single crochets, chain 2, and then 2 more single crochets in that corner. And then we're going to work a single crochet in each of those 2 single crochets that were part of the corner in the last round. And now we're back to working behind the cables. In that case, we work 2 single crochets and then 1, 2 in the next stitch and then 1. Okay, so this is what we're going to be working all the way around. So go ahead and complete that round. At the end of this round, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round, just like that. And at the end of this round, you should have a total of 160 single crochets. That would be 40 stitches on each side, plus the 4 chain 2 corners. Let's go ahead and take a look with the right side facing. Okay, now we're going to start row 14, and this is going to be the foundation row for the woven stitch. So I've already turned, chain 2. After that chain 2, we're going to work a woven stitch in the same space as joining. And remember, these are the same stitches that we worked down here, and this foundation row is the same. It's the same as we worked on the first set of rows down here when we were working the woven stitches into the double crochets. Okay, then we're going to skip the next stitch, and then we work the woven stitch in the next stitch. I'm going to slow down this next stitch so just have a little refresher for you. Skip the next stitch. We wrap the hook, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, and then pull through 2. Let me do that one more time just as a review. Skip the next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, and then pull through 2. Now we are going to work this woven stitch all the way to the corner, and in the corner, just like we did before in the chain 2 corner, we're going to work 2 woven stitches in each corner, and then continue to work in every other stitch all the way across until you get to the next corner. And then we're also going to do 2 in this corner and the other corners as well. So that's going to be row number 14. Now for rows 15, 16, and 17, that's 3 additional rows. We are going to continue working the woven stitch. You will turn at the end of these rows and then work the woven stitches in between the space that are in between the woven stitches, just like we worked on these rows down here. So go ahead and finish those 4 round, I should have said round, so 4 rounds of the woven stitch. At the end of round 17, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that chain 2 space. Okay, now let's go ahead and chain 1, and let's just go ahead and pause. I want to show you how this is progressing. This is with the back side facing. Okay, now before we begin the next round, we're going to actually turn the entire piece around, and let's pause and take a look at the front side, and you can see how the color changes are coming along quite nicely. Now we're ready to begin round number 18, and we've already chained 1, and this is a little bit different than the round we worked back here. So you might want to pay a little closer attention. So we're just going to work 2 single crochets in each space between the woven stitches, just like we did before. So that pretty much is the same. So go ahead and work that 2 single crochets in between the 2 woven stitches all the way until we get to the corner. When we get to the corner, we're going to do something just a little bit different this time. So I will meet you at the corner. Once we get to the corner where those 2 woven stitches were worked in the same place, instead of working the traditional corner, we're going to actually just work 5 single crochets in that same space. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this is going to prepare us for the next round. So make sure that you don't do the chain, you know, 2 single crochet, chain 2 single crochets, but rather just work 5 single crochets in each of those corners. So go ahead and finish this round. Again, just continuing working 2 single crochets into each of those spaces between the woven stitches, and again 5 single crochets in those corners, and I will meet you at the join. At the end of round 18, we just joined with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. Now we are ready to begin round 19, which is the first round of the low front ridge. And for this stitch, we are only going to be working in the front loop, and I'll demonstrate that for you right now. We're going to start with a chain 1. We're going to skip the first stitch, and working in the next stitch, we're just going to do a slip stitch. Now don't worry about this stitch here. We will come around and we're going to work in that in the next round, but for this round it's not going to affect the overall stitch count. And let me go ahead and give you the stitch count. At the end of round 18, you should have had 212 single crochets. Okay, so now we're working on round 19, and we're just working slip stitches in that front loop only. Now if you tend to work your slip stitches extremely tightly, I'm going to encourage you to do one of 2 things. One, you can just try to focus on relaxing the yarn hold and just making sure that your stitches are nice and even. Okay, see, similar to this. Now, if you find that as you work these slip stitches across that your work is pulling inward and it's becoming extremely tight, I would encourage you to go up to the next size hook, which would be a size I hook or whatever size up from what you're using now. And you just use a larger hook, and that should fix the problem. But again, just for this round. And if you decide to do that, don't forget to change back to the regular hook that you're using for the rounds that follow round 19. Okay. Yeah, so those are the 2 things that you could do, is just focus on working more loosely, or just go ahead and upsize your hook for this round only. That way they won't be so tight. I'm just going to work my way here to the corner, and I just wanted to show you just how to go around the corner very easily, which as you can see now, which is why we worked the single crochets instead of putting the chain 2 space there. Although I do have another pattern that works this with a chain 2, and it's very doable as well. Okay, so now we've worked to the corner, and now we have 5 stitches, and we just continue on. There's nothing really different that we're doing here, just working the slip stitch in that front loop only. Make it around the corner, just like that. And we're going to just work that all the way around. So go ahead and finish that, and I will show you the join and get you started on the round that follows this one. Okay, after working this all the way around, I just wanted to show you that this was the chain right here, and this was our first slip stitch. So let's go ahead and join to that first slip stitch. Might be a little bit tight to pull through, and pull that through just like that. Give it a chain one, and now we're going to turn to have the back side facing. And now we're going to work in the remaining stitch, and you should be able to see each of these stitches. Let me go ahead and just point out, this was the single crochet where you joined, and this is the next stitch over here, and this is where we're going to start. We're going to end in this space right here, but I'm going to start the first stitch right here, which is the first single crochet going this direction, and we only have one loop left, so we're going to be working in that remaining loop, and I'm going to work a single crochet, and I'm going to work this a little bit for you so that you can see where that loop is. If you're having a hard time seeing it, find where that single crochet is. You see the single crochet right here, and then the extra loop is right there. I know this is a little bit tricky at first, but once you've worked it a couple of times, it does become second nature. So we're just working in that one loop. Let me stop, and I'll show you again. Find the single crochet, and if you just go up, and you see the loop. So we're going to work that all the way around our project, all the way around the corner in those 5 loops. And I'll show you the front side to show you how this looks. So what you formed is a little bit of surface texture right there. So go ahead and finish this round. This is actually round number 20. Okay, so I want you to work the single crochets, working in that front loop only all the way to the corner, and then I'm going to work this corner with you. And once we get to the corner, we should have 5 loops here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is the way we're going to make the corner a little more squared up. We're going to work a single crochet in the first 2 loops. In that third loop, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet in that same loop. And then the last 2 loops of the corner, we just work single crochets. Let's stop and take a look at that. So you can see how that squares that corner off a little bit better. So that's what we're going to do. Go ahead and just continue working single crochets in that remaining loop all the way around until you get to the next corner, and then just repeat what I showed you here over those 5 stitches for the corners. So now we're just going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round, and let's go ahead and turn and take a look at this lovely texture that we've just completed. This is the slip stitch round, and then of course the back side of the single crochet. You should have a total of 216 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, so now we're going to begin round number 21. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to go ahead and work a double crochet in the same place as joining. And we're going to work a double crochet in each stitch all the way until we get to the corner. So I will meet you at the corner, and I'll show you what to do there. Okay, so I've worked these double crochets all the way to the corner. When you get that chain 2 corner, we're going to work 10 double crochets. That's right, 10 double crochets into that corner. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this seems crazy, doesn't it? I have my method behind my madness though, and I'll explain it in just a second. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now I am actually going to go back and I'm going to double check to make sure I have the correct number. So starting in that chain 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like I nailed it. Okay, so and it's going to be a little wavy looking and a little odd at the end of this round, but don't worry about that because we're getting ready to work the Celtic weave, and any waviness that you may see here is going to disappear with those additional rounds because we won't be adding stitches to those rounds. So anyways, we're preparing for that. So now we want to make sure that we get all the stitches, don't skip any, and just double crochet in each stitch across to the next corner. Once you get to the next corner, again, work 10 double crochets in that chain 2 space. After working this all the way around, we join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round, and you should have a total of 256 double crochets at the end of round number 21. Now we're ready to begin round 22, and this is using the Celtic weave stitch. So we're going to chain 2, 1, actually chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we are going to skip the first 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to begin in the following stitch and we're going to work a front post treble crochet. And just to let you know, I do have this stitch, the Celtic weave, worked in the round and across the row in separate stitches, and I'm going to list those links in the video description below. We're going to front post treble crochet the next stitch as well. So far we've skipped 4 front post trebles in the next 2 stitches. Now working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 3rd and then the 4th stitches that we just skipped. Okay, we're not going to work, well, let me finish these stitches and then I'll explain something here. So front post treble crochets. Now, we didn't work these 2 stitches yet, but we will work these 2 at the end of this round, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, now this is what we're going to do all the way around, including around the corners as we go across. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and we're going to front post treble crochet. Make sure you wrap the hook 2 times for a treble. These are not doubles. And we're going to do that in those next 2 stitches, and then working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. So we're making like little Celtic, kind of like crosses here, 4 stitch groupings. Okay, look like this. And I'll work this one more time for you. We're going to work this all the way around. Should you need additional stitch support, like I said, check out those videos in the video description below. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. Okay, let's take a look at that. So we're going to work this all the way around. So I'm going to do that and I will show you how to finish this round. After working this around to the last 4 stitches, we have 1, 2 stitches left here, and then the 2 stitches that we skipped. Now this is the chain. The chain does not count as a stitch. That's pretty important. So now we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and this chain, and we're going to front post treble in the very first 2 stitches that we skipped at the beginning of this round, and working in front of these 2 stitches again. Make sure we don't confuse that chain. We're going to front post treble in front of those last 2 stitches of the round, and then we're going to join with a slip stitch in the very first treble crochet, which is right here. Okay, and you should have a total of 64 crosses or groups of 4 stitches. We still have 256 stitches down. This is very important. And if you didn't have 256 stitches on this last round, then you would have seen that discrepancy as you completed this round. So I hope that didn't cause you any trouble. So now we have, again, still 256 stitches on this round. We didn't add any, and we're not going to add any on the next round either. So for the next round, we're going to turn and we're going to work with the back side facing. We are going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And this is the way we're going to work this. Now this is slightly different. And starting this, working the Celtic weave in the round than if you're just working it across the row. So if you've worked this in rows before, you're going to notice a subtle difference. At the beginning, we're just going to skip 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and starting in the next stitch, which is the stitch right here, we're going to work back post treble crochets. 1, and then work the next stitch as well. And now working in front of these two as seen from the front side. So in other words, we're going to work in front of these stitches. We're going to work back post trebles, and these 2 stitches, they're a little bit hidden there, so you're going to have to use the nerve endings in your thumb and your tall man finger there to try to find where these stitches are. And again, coming in front, we're going to come in and we're going to work back post. Whoops, let's try that one again. I'm doing it so slowly that it actually makes it a little more difficult for me. Okay, that's 1, and then do that again to the next stitch. You notice that I am working in front as seen from the back, or I'm sorry, as seen from the front side. We're working in front of those. Okay, so I'm going to do this again. So now we're going to skip 2 stitches, and this is the repeat from this point. Skip these 2 stitches, and these 2 stitches are going to be leaning towards you, and they're going to be on the surface. Okay, back post treble. The next 2 stitches, and working in front of these as seen from the other side. So we're going to come around. We're going to front, I guess, back post treble, and the next 2 stitches, or I'm sorry, the 2 stitches that we just skipped. Okay, so and the other one. Okay, and let me turn this around so that you can see the front side. So you can see what we're doing. When we did those second 2, they're actually in front of these stitches as seen from the front side. That's what I wanted to try to explain. There's a lot going on in 3 different dimensions, and filming in 2 dimensions sometimes doesn't quite communicate as well as sitting next door to a person or sitting next to a crocheter. Okay, so go ahead and skip the next 2. I'll work this again for you. Skip these 2, back post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of these 2 stitches as seen from the front side, we're going to bring our hook around, and we're going to back post treble in those 2 stitches that we just skipped. And coming around, there we go. Now, if this is still leaving you in the dark and absolutely lost, please check the video description below. I will have a video there for working the Celtic weave in the round, and hopefully by looking at that a little more closely, that will help. Let me work this one more time for you. Skip 2 and back post treble in the next 2, and just like the round previous to this, and we're just going to work this one all the way around, and you're still going to have, as I said before, 256 stitches or 64 groups of 4. Okay, so working in front of these as seen from the back, from the front side, we're going to do 2 back post trebles. And I'll turn this around for you one more time. So if your stitches don't look like this or not even close, then you probably need to take a look at that video and practice doing this stitch before you continue. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and work this all the way around, and I will show you the join, and well, the last 4 stitches and the join. I'm going to work the last 4 stitches of this round, and if you can see what I'm doing here, these were the first 2 that we skipped. We're going to go ahead and back post treble crochet around those stitches. And then working in front of those as seen from the front side, come around and we'll do those last 2 stitches. I hope you're enjoying the color changing yarn as much as I am, because this is a lot of fun to watch it come together. Okay, now we're going to join to the first treble, back post treble crochet of the round, just like that. We're going to chain 3 and we're going to turn once again. Let's just take a look at the way this is coming out. I'm going to go ahead and pause a little longer and give you another look at what we have so far. Okay, so now the next row is going to be pretty much the same as the row we worked down here. We're working the Celtic weave again with the front side facing, and like we did the first time, we're going to skip the first 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, or the first crossing of the cables here, and then we're just going to continue front post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches, and working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. These are the hidden stitches here. They're underneath the other 2 stitches. Okay, and as a reminder, the first 2 that we skipped of the 4, we will complete those as the last couple of stitches that we work on this round. So we're just going to continue, skip the next 2, just like we did 2 rows down with the front side facing, front post treble crochet in the next 2, and we're going to do this all the way around, working in front of the next 2 or the 2 stitches that we just made. We're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. Okay, so just go ahead and work that all the way around. Okay, I'm about to finish round 24, but I have 4 more stitches to do. I'm going to skip the next 2, and the next 2 stitches that we work are the first 2 that we skipped at the beginning of the round. So let's go ahead and do those treble crochets, and then working in front of those stitches, we're going to do the 2 stitches right here that we just skipped. All right, now we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first treble crochet of the round. Let's just take a look at this. This is just a really fun stitch. Okay, so now the next row we're going to do is going to discontinue the Celtic weave. We're going to chain 2. We're going to turn. Now we're going to work back post double crochets in each stitch until we get to the corner. Well, we're going to work these in 36 stitches. So go ahead and work those stitches to the corner, and I will show you what to do when you get to that part. Okay, I wanted to make you aware of a slight correction in the pattern. The written pattern says to back post to 36. It actually should be 32. So please forgive me for that. So 32 stitches to the corner. Once you get to the corner, this is going to be the space in between the clusters. Let me go ahead and flip this around to just be clear about this point. So as we go to the corner, there should be 8 sets of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so after you've worked over 32, not 36 stitches, we're going to work 8 double crochets right here in between the last stitch and the next stitch. So let's just do 8 double crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And if you want to do a quick count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just to make sure, because the stitch count is important. And after we do that, we're going to continue to back post double crochet across each stitch. There is going to be 64 across this side, or 16 sets of 4. And once you do that, and then you get to the next corner, and you're going to work 8 stitches, 8 double crochets worked between the last stitch and the next stitch, just in that space right there. And do that for each corner, and then I will show you the join at the end of the round. At the end of this round, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round, and you should have a total of 288 stitches at the end of this round. Let's go ahead and turn, and I'm just going to show you a little corner of this, since it's really getting too large to give you a full view, which I'll give you a full view or a photo at the end of this project. Okay, well, now we're on to the next round. This is round 26. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet in each stitch. I'm going to go ahead and work these single crochets to the corner. I'll show you what to do once I get to that part. Okay, I've worked the single crochets all the way until we get to those 8 stitches in the corner. Once you get to this part, we're going to single crochet in 4 of these stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then we just continue single crocheting, not in the same stitch here, but just in the next stitch. Do 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, and that is your corner. So that kind of gives it more definition following this row or round. Okay, so that's what we're going to do all the way around. So we're going to single crochet in each stitch as we go, and just as a review, when you get to those corners, single crochet in the first 4 stitches, chain 2, and then single crochet in those other 4 stitches. And that's what you do, and I'll meet you at the final join. After working those single crochets all the way around, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. You should have a total of 288 single crochets at the end of this round. Now we're ready to begin round 27. And this is the round where we work only in the front loop, just like we did down here. And we are going to begin that with a chain 1. Do not turn at the end of that last round. And we are going to work a slip stitch in each stitch until we get to the corner. And I'll show you how to do the corner once we get there. So make sure you're just using that front loop only. After working all the way to that chain 2 corner, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet in that corner. And then after that, we just begin, or continue rather, doing those slip stitches in the front loop. So go ahead and work this all the way around. At the end of round 27, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. Chain 1, and we're going to turn. And just like we did several rows down, we're going to work a single crochet in each stitch across. Okay, so I know this is tricky to see the first one. Look for that first single crochet and then just go up. Okay, it's going to be a little bit more to the left or to the right, depending on whether you're watching the right or the left-handed version. And just to show you, the last stitch is going to be right here. So go ahead and work a single crochet in each of those remaining loops. I'll go ahead and do a couple here. Just find the single crochet and then just go up with the hook. And also would like to say that it really helps to have Susan Bates hook. This is a non-paid endorsement. These are just my favorite hooks in the whole wide world. They have other hooks that look like this with the softer handles that I really prefer, but they have more of a pointedness to the hook, and that does help a lot. And personally, really like the inline design of these as well. But anyway, just a little tidbit there that may or may not help. Now, after we go all the way across, once we work the last stitch here, the single crochet worked here, and then we're going to go over to the chain 2 corner, and we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, just the way you've been working, and then we resume working in the remaining loop of each stitch across. So go ahead and finish that round. One thing I also need to point out before we finish this round is, as you get to the chain 2 corner, do not work in the loop of this single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Do not count these single crochets as stitches to work another single crochet in, if that makes sense. So just from this loop, we're going to skip over this single crochet in the corner and then work only in the chain 2 of this single crochet, chain 2, single crochet throughout the corners. And so at the end of this round, your stitch count should be the same as the previous round. So the number on that, you should have 288 stitches, just like at the end of round 26. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to join with a slip stitch at the end of this round to that first stitch of the round. Now for round 29, we have turned so that we have the front side facing, and this is going to look very much like the rows that we worked earlier with the woven stitch. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to begin. We can begin in that first stitch to work the woven stitch. If you need more stitch support on this, again, check out the video links below, or you can return to rows 8 through 10. And we're going to work this in every other stitch, just like we did before. So let me go ahead and give you an assignment. We're going to work this all the way, skipping every other stitch until we get to the chain 2 corner. And go ahead and work 2 woven stitches in the chain 2 corner, just like we did, back down this section here and in this section. Once we complete that round, we join with a slip stitch again to the chain 2. This round should have 156 woven stitches. After you complete round 29, you need to go back and repeat rounds 8 through 10. In other words, that's going to be rounds 30 through 35. That's a total of 6 more rounds of the woven stitch. And remember, when you work the woven stitch on the following rows, you're going to work in the space in between the woven stitch. So go ahead and complete this round. This is round 29, and then complete 6 more rounds of the woven stitch. At the end of this round, we're going to join with the slip stitch to that chain 2 at the beginning of the round. And let's go ahead and just take a look at the way these colors are coming out, which are so beautiful. And this is coming straight off of the scan. I didn't manipulate the yarn in any way. Okay. All right. Now to continue with the pattern, we're now going to work round number 36, which is the same as round 11. I'm going to chain 1, and we are going to turn. And this is the round where we work the single crochet. So we're going to work in between the woven stitches in the same space, and we're going to work 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way to the corner. Once you get to the corner, we're going to work in between those two woven stitches. We're going to work 2 single crochets, chain 2, and 2 more single crochets. After that, just continue around to the next corner, again working 2 single crochets in that space between the woven stitches and the corners, just like I showed you here, and I will show you the final join at the end of the round. At the end of this round, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet of the round. Now we're going to fasten off. We're not done yet, but we are going to fasten off for this part of the project. Go ahead and pull that thread up. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to hide this loose thread, because I think that would be particularly helpful to do this now. And then I'm going to go on to the last 2 rounds where we add the decorative shell border. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and thread the needle. And I like to do this with the back side facing, and the back side is already facing us. So go ahead and bring this down. And I'm simply going to run it underneath many of these stitches that we just completed. Let's see if I can get that so you can see. You want to try to hide this under similarly colored yarn if possible. So let's go ahead and bring it under those 2 stitches. And I'm going to bring it up. Actually, just going to continue working it. Let's run it through some of these stitches here so it doesn't get to where it shows. Okay. And let's do just a couple more stitches here. So after running some of this yarn underneath those extra stitches, go ahead and trim close to the work, but make sure that you don't trim your stitches. And make sure you have a sharp pair of scissors if you can. It's just really good to have that instead of a dull pair that kind of gnaws at the yarn. Okay, now we're ready to do the last 2 rounds. And we're going to do that with the front side facing. And we're going to start in the chain 2 corner. So this is round 37. And I'm going to go ahead and start with a little slip knot. And I'm going to bring it here into the chain 2 space. I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the math of this project, this does count as a treble crochet. Now we're going to work 9 additional trebles into this same chain 2 space. So I'll go ahead and finish these. So after working those 9 trebles, do make sure that you have the turning chain plus 9 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now we're going to skip 2 stitches. There's a hidden stitch here, 1, 2, and then single crochet in the next stitch. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to skip 2 more stitches, 1, 2, and then we're going to single crochet in that next stitch. Okay, so we're making a little loop here, and now we are going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and in the next space we're going to work 8 treble crochets in the same space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and get that 7. Let's try that last one again. And 8. It's always good to check 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to make sure that you have the correct number. After finishing those 8 treble crochets, we're going to skip 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to work a single crochet in that next space, and we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to repeat again what we did from this point on. We're going to repeat this 6 more times, and the last couple of repeats at the end of this row will be slightly different in order to account for the number of stitches across the row, and I will do that with you, but just to let you know, we're going to repeat this 6 more times. I'll repeat the first repeat for you. Skip 2 stitches, single crochet in that next stitch, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work 8 treble crochets in the next space. I'll go ahead and work those off camera for you. After working those 8 stitches, we skip 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet in that next space, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2, 1, 2, and single crochet in that next space, and then we're just going to repeat that. This is going to have a total of 7, not counting the corner. You're going to have a total of 7 with the 8 in each of these shells. So go ahead and do that. Okay, when you are about this far from the corner, you have enough room for 1 more of the shells. Let me show you how we're going to do this in order to make these numbers work. We're going to skip 1 stitch instead of 2, single crochet in that next stitch. We're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then we're going to work 8 treble crochets in the next stitch. So go ahead and work those 8 trebles. After those 8 trebles are worked in that one space, we're going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to single crochet in that next stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to skip 1 stitch, single crochet in the next, skip the stitch before the chain 2 corner, and we're going to work 10 treble crochets. That's correct, 10 treble crochets in this corner and in the remaining corners when you get to that section. So go ahead and work those 10 treble crochets rather. Go ahead and work those 10 treble crochets. Okay, after you finish those 10 treble crochets in the corner, and this is where we repeat from the beginning again in this section. So we're going to skip 2, 1, 2, single crochet in that next stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2, 1, 2, single crochet in the next space, and etc. So we're going to repeat this pattern on this side and on each side of the blanket, and let's just stop and see what each side should look like with these shell stitches. Okay, not counting the corners, you should have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shells on each side plus the 4 corners. Round 37 ends by working a slip stitch to the top of the chain 4, which is masquerading as a treble crochet for us. Now we are ready to work our last round. We're going to chain 1. We're going to work a single crochet in that same place as joining, and now we're going to work a picot, and this is the way we work the picots. Let's get that out of the background for you. Chain 3, and then we're going to slip stitch in that first single crochet that we just worked. It's kind of like a backward slip stitch. I'll do this a few times for you. Single crochet in the next stitch, which is right here, single crochet, and then we're going to work a picot, chain 3, and then put the stitch or the hook right into the top of that single crochet slip stitch. Go to the next stitch, single crochet, and work another picot, which is chain 3, slip stitch in the top of that single crochet, and we're going to do this in every, whoops, make that a single crochet, chain 3, and work that picot. Okay, so we're going to do this all the way around, and I will meet you right here. So after working these picots in those treble crochets, and this is the last, you can see I worked the last treble crochet with that picot, single crochet in the top of the treble, and work the picot. We're going to skip the single crochet, and in this chain 3 space we're going to work 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. We're going to skip this single crochet, and we're going to start this again in the next treble. Of course, we're going to have fewer because we only have 8 trebles here. So single crochet, chain 3, and work that picot by working the slip stitch in the top of that single crochet. So we're going to do that in each of these stitches. That's 2. I'm going to go ahead and do 8 of these. So after completing this 8 times, we're going to skip that next single crochet, and then again work 3 single crochets in that chain 3 space. And then we just repeat that all the way around. And the only difference is when you get to the corners, you're going to have 10 stitches instead of 8 stitches to work in, but you're going to be working this the same way all the way around the blanket. And I'll show you the final join. After having worked this all the way around the blanket, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the very first single crochet, which is right there of the round. And go ahead and pull that a little bit tighter, give it a chain and pull it tight again. And then we're going to go ahead and clip a generous long strand, so that makes it easier to work in. And just like we did before, we're going to hide this strand using our yarn needle, and make sure that you hide this on the back side, and it should be fairly easy just to run it down and under these purple stitches, or whatever color you have here. This has been so much fun with all these different colors. So I am just going to run it under the stitches just like that. And give it a pull. And pull back a little bit. And then just carefully cut the strand without cutting your stitches. There you go. Pull back a little bit. And there you have it. Okay, now that we're finished, I'll give you a little bit close up of some of the areas here, and I'm going to give you an overall view of this right here. I'm going to put a slide in this section. Well, I hope you enjoyed making the rainbow baby blanket with me today. If you did, please hit that thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any of the new offerings coming your way. God bless. Bye-bye.